"Wait, where's my name?" I asked, my voice cracking as I stared at the contract spread across the mahogany table. My father didn't even look up from the paperwork. My mother just sighed like I'd asked something ridiculous and said, "You were never officially part of the company, Marin. It wouldn't be right to confuse things." I stood frozen in the conference room doorway, watching my parents sign documents with two men in expensive suits. This was supposed to be a routine investor meeting. They told me to come at 2 o'clock for introductions. But this wasn't introductions. This was a sale. The family business was being sold, and I was watching it happen like a stranger. "Mom, what are you talking about?" My hands started shaking. "I've been working here for 5 years. She glanced at the buyers, then back at me with that patient smile she used with difficult clients. "You were just helping out, sweetheart. You know that." The room tilted. Just helping out. 5 years of my life reduced to 4 words. I looked at my father, waiting for him to correct her, to tell them the truth. He adjusted his glasses and kept signing. I walked out of that building in a haze. The elevator ride down felt like falling. Outside, the afternoon sun burned too bright. Cars passed by in blurs of color while I stood on the sidewalk, unable to move. They planned this. The thought kept circling in my mind like a vulture. They knew I'd show up after they started. They wanted me to walk in and see it already done. I made it to my car somehow. Sat in the driver's seat gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wasn't crying. I couldn't cry. The betrayal sat in my chest like a stone, heavy and cold. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Don't make a scene about this. We'll talk later. Don't make a scene." As if I was the problem. As if I was being dramatic about being erased from my own life's work. I drove home on autopilot, barely remembering the route. When I finally reached my apartment, I slammed the door behind me and whispered to the empty room, "They cut me out. After everything I did." If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my revenge story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. My name is Marin Torres, and I'm 26 years old. Until today, I thought I was building something that would last. I thought I was building my future. I grew up watching my parents struggle with their boutique consultancy firm. They helped small businesses with marketing strategies, but they could barely market themselves. After college, I had job offers from 3 different companies. Good offers with benefits and clear career paths. But I turned them all down to help my parents instead. I started working for free that first year. I told myself it was an investment in our family's future. I redesigned their website, built their social media presence, learned email marketing from YouTube videos. I spent nights and weekends cold calling potential clients while my college friends posted pictures from happy hours and beach trips. Slowly, things started working. Clients responded to my emails. They liked my approach. They trusted me. Within 18 months, I'd tripled their client list. By year 3, we'd gone from barely paying rent to 6-figure revenue. I never took credit. Never asked for much. They were my parents. This was our family business. I believed we were building something together. Things changed as the business grew. Small things at first. My parents started taking meetings without me. When clients asked for me specifically, my mother would say, "Oh, Marin just helps out with the administrative side." Administrative side. I'd built the entire client onboarding process. At networking events, they introduced themselves as the sole founders. They left my name off press releases. Once, at a Chamber of Commerce dinner, I overheard my mother talking to another business owner. "Is that your daughter?" the woman asked, pointing at me. "Yes, she's helping out until she figures out what she wants to do with her life," my mother said, laughing. "You know how kids are these days." I was standing right there. I just closed a deal with a major retail client that morning. But in my mother's version of reality, I was just killing time. I let it slide. It was their company, right? They'd started it. I was just supporting them. That's what I told myself every time something felt wrong. Looking back now, I could see the signs I'd missed. 3 months ago, my parents started taking private phone calls behind closed doors. They'd stop talking when I entered rooms. Calendar invites that used to include me suddenly didn't. Just some boring investor stuff, my father said when I asked. Nothing you need to worry about. They locked the office door during what they called strategy meetings. They asked me to work from home more often. They took client meetings without telling me until afterward. I found notes in my mother's handwriting about valuations and exit strategies. When I mentioned it, she laughed it off. Just exploring options for retirement, honey. Years away still. But it wasn't years away. It was happening today. They'd been planning this sale for months, using my client relationships and my performance metrics to make themselves look good to buyers. And they never planned to tell me until it was done. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my laptop going through old files, trying to understand what had happened. Then I found it, buried in a shared folder I'd forgotten about. Sales deck. The presentation they'd shown potential buyers. Every graph showed our growth trajectory. Every chart highlighted our client retention rate. Every testimonial came from clients I'd personally worked with. My strategies, my relationships, my late nights and early mornings. But my name wasn't anywhere. Every document listed only my parents as founders. Where my contribution should have been, there was nothing. Not even a footnote. I found email threads between my parents and the buyers. One message made my stomach turn. "Glad your daughter won't be involved going forward," the buyer had written. "Founder-only transitions are much cleaner." My father had replied, "Exactly our thinking." They hadn't forgotten to include me. They'd actively excluded me. They'd scrubbed my name from everything, made me invisible, so the sale would go smoother. I closed my laptop and sat in the dark, something cold and sharp settling in my chest. I didn't sleep that night. When morning came, I wasn't angry anymore. I was something else. Something quieter and more dangerous. Packed up my home office. The client files I'd built. The strategy documents I'd created. The passwords to accounts I'd managed. I organized everything methodically, calmly. This wasn't emotion. This was clarity. My parents called 3 times. I didn't answer. My mother texted, "Stop being childish. We need to discuss your transition plan." Transition plan. As if I was an employee being let go, not their daughter being erased. I opened a blank document on my laptop. At the top I typed one word, rebuild. Then I started making lists. Client relationships I'd built personally. Industry contacts who knew my work. Skills I'd developed over 5 years. Resources I had access to. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning survival. But I was also realizing something important. They'd made one critical mistake. They'd forgotten that I was the one clients emailed at midnight with urgent questions. I was the one they called when campaigns went wrong. My name wasn't on their contract, but it was the one in client inboxes. It was the one people trusted. The next morning I received an email from Patricia Vance, one of our biggest clients. The subject line read, "Quick question. Hey Marin," she wrote. "I heard through the grapevine that your parents sold the company. Are you still going to be my point of contact? Because honestly, you're the only reason I've stayed this long. Let me know." I stared at that email for a long time. Then I checked my other messages. 3 more clients had reached out with similar questions. They weren't asking about the company. They were asking about me. "Marin, what's your situation? Will you still be handling our account? Can we set up a call? Just you and me." They didn't trust my parents. They trusted me. And my parents had been too arrogant to realize the difference. I didn't respond to those emails yet. But I started thinking about what came next. I didn't need to steal anything. I didn't need to sabotage anyone. I just needed to be available when people came looking for me. And they would come looking. That afternoon I registered an LLC. Torres Consulting Group. Simple, professional, mine. I bought the domain name and set up a basic website. Nothing fancy yet, just a landing page with my name and a contact form. I wasn't trying to compete with my parents. I was just creating a space where the work I'd been doing could continue under my own name. No drama. No public announcements. Just quiet, strategic preparation. I opened a business bank account. Set up accounting software. Created a pricing structure based on the real value I'd been delivering, not the discounted rates my parents had been charging because they didn't understand the market. This wasn't revenge. This was something simpler and more powerful. This was me deciding that if I was going to build something, it would be mine. Completely mine. With my name on every document and my vision driving every decision. My phone buzzed with another call from my parents. I silenced it and kept working. 3 days later, my mother called from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. "What did you say to them?" she demanded. No hello. No explanation needed. We both knew what she meant. "Say to who?" I asked calmly. "The clients, Maren." "What did you tell them?" "Patricia Vance just postponed her contract renewal. Marcus Webb is asking questions about the transition." "What did you do?" I hadn't done anything. That was the truth. I'd responded to exactly one email from Patricia, and all I'd said was, "I'm exploring my options. I'll keep you posted." I haven't told them anything, Mom. I just answered their questions honestly. "This is sabotage," she hissed. "You're trying to ruin this sale out of spite." "The sale already happened," I reminded her. "Remember, I wasn't part of it." Silence on the other end. Then, "We need to meet. Tonight. This is getting out of hand." "I don't think that's a good idea." "Maren, don't be ridiculous. We're your parents." Hung up. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear. From something that felt like freedom. A week later, Marcus Webb called me directly. He ran a regional restaurant chain with 15 locations. I'd helped him recover from a failed marketing campaign 2 years ago. We'd worked together on every major launch since. "Maren, I'm going to be straight with you," he said. "I signed with your parents' company because of you, not because of them. If you're not there anymore, I don't see a reason to stay." "Marcus, I can't tell you what to do." "I'm not asking you to. I'm asking if you're starting your own thing. Because if you are, I want in." Took a breath. "I am." "Good. Send me a contract. I'm done with them." He wasn't the only one. Over the next 2 weeks, 4 major clients made the same decision. They didn't leave angry or dramatic. They just quietly moved their business to me. My parents' company started unraveling. The buyer sent concerned emails about client retention. My father left me voicemails that started calm and ended desperate. My mother showed up at my apartment, but I didn't answer the door. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just kept working, kept building, kept moving forward. I launched my website officially on a Tuesday morning. Clean design. Client-focused messaging. Testimonials from people who'd worked with me directly. My name in bold letters across the top. Maren Torres, founder. I didn't mention my parents. Didn't explain where I came from or why I'd started over. The website spoke for itself. Professional. Capable. Trustworthy. I wrote a LinkedIn post announcing the launch. Just a simple statement about starting a new chapter and helping businesses grow with personalized strategies. I posted it and closed my laptop, expecting maybe a few dozen likes from old college friends. When I checked again that evening, the post had 8,000 shares. Comments flooded in from people I'd worked with, people who'd heard about me through clients, people who'd been following my work for years without me knowing. "Finally, you're doing your own thing. Can't wait to work with you directly. Your parents' loss is the industry's gain." People knew. They'd been watching. They'd been waiting for this. The buyer pulled out of the deal 2 weeks later. My parents tried to hide it, but word spread fast in our industry. Without the key clients, the company's valuation had collapsed. The buyer's lawyers sent a termination letter citing material changes in the business structure. My father left a voicemail at 2 in the morning. His voice sounded hollow. "Call me back, please. We need to talk." I didn't call back. Not yet. I was too busy onboarding new clients, hiring my first contractor, setting up systems that actually worked. I was too busy building something real. My mother sent an email with the subject line, "Family emergency." There was no emergency, just their egos falling apart. Just consequences finally catching up with choices they'd made. I saved the email in a folder labeled Evidence and kept working. I wasn't being cruel. I was being focused. There would be time to talk later. Maybe. But right now, I had a business to build and clients depending on me.
They asked to meet at a restaurant downtown. Neutral territory. My mother's idea, probably. I agreed, because I wanted to hear what they'd say. We sat in a booth near the back. My parents looked smaller somehow, less sure of themselves. My father ordered scotch. My mother picked at her salad without eating. "You're overreacting," my mother started. "We were trying to protect you from the stress of the sale." "Protect me by erasing me?" I asked quietly. "That's not what happened," my father said. "The buyer wanted a clean transition. We thought it would be easier if I didn't exist," I finished. "If my 5 years of work just disappeared." They exchanged a glance. My mother leaned forward. "This isn't what family does, Marin. You're sabotaging us out of hurt feelings." I almost laughed. Family doesn't delete you from your own life's work. Family doesn't lie to buyers about who built the client list. Family doesn't call you an assistant when you're doing the real work. My father's face reddened. "We gave you opportunities. We let you learn from us." "Let me." Now I did laugh. "I saved your business. And you sold it without me." The dinner ended badly. No resolution. No apology. Just them trying to gaslight me into believing I'd misunderstood everything. 2 days after that dinner, my mother sent me a legal letter. Their lawyer accused me of stealing clients, violating non-compete agreements, and engaging in unfair business practices. I forwarded it to the lawyer I'd already hired. She called me within an hour. "They have no case," she said, barely suppressing laughter. "You never signed a non-compete. You didn't steal client information. You built those relationships yourself. And best of all, they removed you from the company entirely, which means you're not bound by any company policies. So they can't do anything. They can try, but they'll lose. And it'll cost them money they apparently don't have anymore." My parents were panicking. The company was failing. The sale had fallen through. Clients were leaving. And now they were making desperate moves that only made things worse. I didn't respond to their lawyer. I just kept building. Every hour they spent on legal threats was an hour I spent growing my business. The email came from Trevor Park, my parents' former operations manager. Subject line, coffee. We met at a cafe near his house. He looked tired. "I quit yesterday," he said without preamble. "The environment there is toxic. Your parents are blaming everyone but themselves. The staff is miserable. I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. I should have left months ago." He paused. "Are you hiring?" I was. I needed help managing the growth. Trevor knew the systems because he'd helped me build most of them. He knew the clients. He knew the work. "Send me your information," I said. Over the next month, 3 more staff members reached out. People who'd worked alongside me for years. People who knew the truth about who'd been running things. They didn't want to work for my parents anymore. They wanted to work with me. My parents tried to stop them. Threatened legal action. Sent angry emails. But people chose anyway. They chose competence over chaos. They chose integrity over ego. Trevor brought me something during his second week. A folder of documents he'd kept from his time at my parents' company. "I thought you should see this," he said, sliding it across my desk. Inside were copies of the sale documents. And there, on page 17, was a signature that made my blood run cold. My signature. Except I'd never signed anything. "They forged it," Trevor said. "I watched your father practice copying your signature on a notepad. I thought he was joking around. But then this showed up in the final paperwork. My parents had forged my signature on sale documents to make it look like I'd approved the transfer of assets. Assets I'd helped create. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was fraud. I took pictures of everything. Sent them to my lawyer. She called immediately. "This changes things. This is a crime. Do you want to press charges?" I thought about it. "Not yet. But I want this documented. And I want the original buyer to know." She handled it quietly. The buyer's legal team launched their own investigation. My parents had committed fraud to push through a sale that was already falling apart. Word spread through our industry like wildfire. Not because I told anyone, but because people talk. Buyers talk to other buyers. Lawyers talk to other lawyers. Clients talk to everyone. My parents' reputation imploded. The company that had once seemed so successful was now seen as unstable, dishonest, and toxic. People remembered how they treated staff, how they'd taken credit for others' work, how they burned bridges while climbing. Meanwhile, my business kept growing. Patricia Vance referred two of her business partner friends to me. Marcus Webb introduced me to an investor group looking for consultants. Former clients of my parents started reaching out, asking if I had capacity for new projects. A major regional retail chain contacted me directly. "We heard about your work. We're looking for someone to rebuild our entire marketing strategy. Would you be interested?" The project was worth more than my parents had made in their best year. I put together a proposal. They accepted it the same day. My name was becoming gold in the industry. Not because I destroyed my parents, but because I'd proven what I could do when my work wasn't being hidden behind someone else's ego. My parents made one final, desperate move. They rebranded. New website. New messaging. New visual identity. Except none of it was new. They copied my branding almost exactly. Same color scheme. Similar taglines. Nearly identical service descriptions. It was so obvious that people started tagging me on social media. "Isn't this your exact website? Did they seriously copy you? This is embarrassing." I didn't respond publicly, but I did send a cease and desist letter through my lawyer. Within 24 hours, they'd taken down the website. Not because they respected my work, but because someone pointed out they were violating trademark laws. The copying proved what I'd always known but never said out loud. They couldn't build anything without me. They'd never been the talent. They'd just been the name on the door while I did the work. 6 months after that conference room betrayal, I had 8 major clients, a team of 4, and revenue that exceeded my parents' best year. I rented a small office space downtown with windows that looked out over the city. This wasn't revenge anymore. It had stopped being about them weeks ago. This was about becoming who I was always supposed to be, building something that reflected my values, my vision, my name. I hired an intern from the local university, taught her the same skills I'd learned the hard way, actually gave her credit for her ideas, put her name on client reports when she contributed. My mother sent me an email. Subject line, "Can we talk?" The message was short. "We miss you. Can we start over? Maybe you could come back, and we could work together properly this time." I read it twice, then I archived it without responding. There was nothing to say. They'd show me exactly who they were. I believed them. The industry award nomination came as a surprise. Rising star in business consulting. My name on the short list alongside people who'd been in the industry for decades. The ceremony was downtown at a hotel ballroom. I wore a navy dress I bought specifically for the occasion. My small team came with me, excited and proud. As we walked in, I saw my parents across the room. They were there as previous award winners, listed in the program as legacy members. My mother saw me and her face went pale. My father looked away. I didn't win that night, but I didn't care. Being nominated meant the industry respected my work. Being in that room meant I'd earned my place. Afterward, Patricia Vance found me at the reception. "Your parents tried to talk to me earlier. Asked me to consider coming back to them. What did you say?" She smiled. "I told them I only work with consultants I trust." Then I walked away. I drove past my parents' old office building on my way home from a client meeting. The space was empty now, with a for lease sign taped to the window. They'd had to close it after the remaining clients left and the staff quit. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt complete, like a chapter had finally ended properly. I'd built their business once, built it from nothing into something profitable and respected. When they took it away, I'd simply built again. But this time, I built it for myself, with my name on everything, with my values guiding decisions, with my team sharing the success. That's what they'd never understood. I didn't need them. I never had, but they'd needed me desperately and hadn't realized it until I was gone. The empty office disappeared in my rearview mirror. I had a meeting with a potential client in an hour, a growing team depending on me, a business that was mine in every sense of the word. I received one final email from my parents 3 months later. No subject line. We understand now that we made mistakes. We should have valued your contribution. We should have included you. We were wrong. Can we meet? Just to talk. We miss our daughter. I read it at my desk while my team worked around me. Through the glass wall of my office, I could see Trevor helping train our newest hire. Could hear laughter from the conference room where Patricia was reviewing campaign results with one of my junior consultants. This was my family now. People who respected each other, who gave credit where it was due, who built each other up instead of tearing each other down. I opened a reply to my parents' email. Typed slowly, I appreciate you reaching out. I've moved forward with my life and my career. I wish you both well, but I don't think a meeting would be productive. Take care. I hit send and closed my laptop. Clean. Final. Done. My first year in business ended with a team dinner at a restaurant we could barely afford, but I paid anyway. 8 people sitting around a table, celebrating wins, and laughing about mistakes we'd learned from. Trevor raised his glass. To Marin, who built this business twice. Once for people who didn't deserve it, and once for all of us. Everyone laughed and drank. But I felt my throat tighten with unexpected emotion. This moment, right here, was what I'd been working toward without knowing it. Not revenge. Not vindication. Just belonging. Just building something worth building with people who valued it. To second chances, I said, raising my own glass. And to knowing your worth. The restaurant noise faded as we talked about next year's goals, new clients we wanted to pursue, services we could expand. My parents were a footnote now. A lesson learned. A bridge burned that needed burning. I keep that forged signature document in a frame on my office wall. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. They tried to erase me, deleted my name from documents, forged my signature, called my work just helping out. But you can't erase someone who knows their value. You can't delete contribution that clients remember. You can't forge trust that was built through years of real work. My parents tried to write me out of their story. Instead, they freed me to write my own. And my story didn't need them in it at all. Sometimes former colleagues mention my parents in passing. Ask if we've reconciled. I smile and change the subject. There's nothing to reconcile. They made their choices. I made mine. Last week, a new client asked me how I got started in consulting. I gave her the short version. I worked for a family business that taught me everything about what not to do. Then I started my own company based on the opposite principles. She laughed, not knowing the half of it. My phone buzzed with a notification. Another client referral. Another opportunity. Another day of building something that couldn't be taken away because it was truly mine. The past was finished. The future was mine to write. And this time, my name was on every page. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does family mean to you? Please share below and subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine.